Donald Trump is clearly dealing with severe health issues, and he even more clearly hates it when we talk about them. So let's talk about the fact that Donald Trump is in deep cognitive decline, that the man falls asleep at meetings, that he covers his hands in goop, that he can't walk straight for a couple of steps without weaving or shuffling or showing us just how broken down he is, that there is a problem that is happening that they are hiding. And he knows it. And he knows that it makes him look pathetic, which is why Donald Trump went to Truth Social last night, feeling as weak as he is physically, mentally, and politically, to melt down on Truth Social. And it is causing a lot of chaos for this White House. But of course, it is not just you and I who see Donald Trump's physical and cognitive decline, so do his family members. Now, we're going to get into that posting, but I want to start with some apt analysis of where Donald Trump's head isn't from his own family.
It's not so much that things have changed qualitatively, it's just that things seem to be rapidly getting worse. I think that Donald has had undiagnosed, untreated psychiatric disorders for many, many years, predating his first administration. But given his advancing age, clearly there seem to be some indications that he has some cognitive issues, hence all of the cognitive tests he's taking and the MRIs we've heard about but have no specific information about. And just his behavior, the way he speaks, his inability to rein himself in, his inability to stay on topic. And oftentimes it seems that he's not exactly aware of where he is or the audience he's speaking to. All right.
There is clearly something wrong with Donald Trump, and not wrong in a way that's funny or easy to mock. It is not just a video of him struggling, moving around, or laughing at the fact that he falls asleep. That's not funny anymore. It never was, considering that he has the nuclear codes. But when you put Donald Trump's cognitive decline in a place with real repercussions for when it shows itself, yeah, it becomes very serious. And that's what happened at Davos this past week. Donald Trump showed us that a madman, unhinged and out of control, can do long-term damage very, very quickly. And that is what he does. Long-term damage very, very quickly. He tried to build his brand as a builder, but he is a destroyer. He rips things apart. AOC said it perfectly.
I think it is really damning when we think about the degree to which mass media outlets reported on Joe Biden, and you know, that resulted in the Democratic Party changing its nominee, etc. Yet we are seeing behavior from Donald Trump that is increasingly erratic and alarming, and everyone's pretending that this is normal. I don't really understand why that is. It is very bizarre. But then, importantly, I think that for our European partners and for our global partners, I think what they also see is the result of not just one man, right, but also the entire government apparatus and a party that is willing to watch someone decompensate in front of the world and do nothing about it. I don't know what's going on, but I find that the standard, it would be helpful if we could apply an even standard here and far more, a fraction of the reporting that was dedicated a year or two ago to see that applied right now.
Donald Trump loves the concept of leverage. He thinks that he can leverage his attacks on other countries to get himself, a Big Mac or a gold crown or a little prize. And sometimes that's worked. But the idea that that leverage is going to create anything positive for the United States is just fanciful. It's not true. And that's what we're seeing play out. That is the damage that Donald Trump has caused. It is almost irreparable if we do not have real leadership on the world stage soon. And if we don't point out the fact that we understand that our president is a madman and he doesn't represent us, because the damage is deep. But it is because he is coming from a place, very obviously, of feeling pathetic, of feeling weak. It's why he melted down on Truth Social after some struggle walking around. Trump 79 gingerly descends Marine One steps after being grilled on health issue. Donald Trump appeared visibly uneasy as he exited the Marine One helicopter amid fresh health concerns surrounding the 79-year-old. The president used both hands to grip the banisters for dear life as he climbed down the small flight of stairs from the aircraft upon his return to the White House after his embarrassing Davos appearance. Of course, that was not the only example of Donnie struggling to walk, because as he was strutting the red carpet, he was moving from side to side, not very stable, a little out of control. The walk was not as straight as he clearly would have wanted it to be, just not a good look for the ailing president. And feeling so weak and so insecure, Donald Trump took himself to Truth Social in the middle of the night, but really the morning, and unleashed nearly 100 posts in a furious tirade. Donald Trump challenged the strength of NATO in one of his nearly 100 posts to Truth Social in the middle of the night. The president made a total of 85 posts over the span of 5 hours, with many reposts of right-wing clips, including posts featuring comments from Elon Musk and Pete Hegseth. Before his reposting spree, Trump lashed out at NATO, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and an advertisement for Melania Trump's upcoming documentary. Donald Trump struggles walking downstairs. He struggles strutting the red carpet. He struggles to cover up the big, ugly bruise on his hand. And then he struggles with the fact that he is so pathetic, that his perception on the world stage is of a weak, weak man. That Gavin Newsom gets up, looks like a real, competent, strong, put-together leader, and makes Donald Trump look so small. That Mark Carney made him look so small. That Emmanuel Macron, with his badass sunglasses, made him look so small. And so he lashes out, being perceived as pathetic, but that is what he is. That is where he stands. But it was not the only lashing out that Donald Trump did with his posting yesterday, because as Republicans tried to make the argument that our cognitively declining president was the target of a political persecution by Joe Biden, that the former president instructed the DOJ to go after him, Donald Trump instructed his DOJ to go after Jack Smith. In the middle of his testimony exposing the criminality, Donald Trump doubled down. He can't even hide it. The last time he did this, his brain was so broken, he posted the text message to Pam Bondi. And of course, yesterday he invoked her as well. Now, I think we will need to stay on this topic for some time, continue to dive into how Donald Trump is weaponizing the DOJ, which is why I want to hear what Jamie Raskin's take was following that testimony from Jack Smith with Rachel Maddow. It's very important. I want to take a look.
To steal classified documents and then to use them in utterly improper ways in the well-trafficked Mar-a-Lago hotel with all of these international visitors and Russians running around and everything. We got to get to the bottom of that. And we're not waiting until the 2026 or 2028 elections. We want to do that one now.
Hey, Congressman Ari here. The Republicans on the panel also tried to get Jack Smith to sort of give a report card to the prior congressional Jan 6 probe, which is a little odd. And one of their points seemed to be, well, some of the witnesses used secondhand information, things that not only they saw, but things they heard from other people, their colleagues. Cassidy Hutchinson was named, for example. And I just wanted to ask you, what does it say about the Republican members of your committee that during that entire investigation, they backed up the White House position that they weren't going to cooperate, that firsthand witnesses weren't going to cooperate even to a criminal degree? Navarro and Bannon famously going to prison rather than talking to the committee. And now they're saying out loud they don't want secondhand witnesses. So their plan seems to be no witnesses. And what does that tell us about their view of what would happen if witnesses actually told the truth about how Trump tried to steal the election?
Yeah, I mean, it was an imbecilic line of inquiry. First of all, Cassidy Hutchinson worked for Donald Trump. She was a Trump witness. She was the top assistant to Mark Meadows, something that they never mentioned in going after her. And of course, one of the amazing things here is the way that they're very willing to cast overboard anybody who doesn't demonstrate 1,000% loyalty to the criminal in chief. But in any event, of course, in a congressional investigation, we don't have a rule against hearsay. People can quote other people. The Republicans do it all the time. They did it today. And that's just not one of the rules we use. So that is a court rule. And so I think Jack Smith was pretty clear about that. Of course, they would follow the hearsay rules. But nobody needed Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony about the fact that Donald Trump wanted to march in like Mussolini with the mob he incited to commit violence against Congress and his own vice president, because Donald Trump himself said it as recently as 2024. He said, I wanted to go down there. He said it in the speech on the ellipse, and I'll be there with you. He said, you got to go and fight like hell. And if you don't, you won't have a country anymore. And he also said, and I'll be there with you. So that whole thing was just nonsense. It strikes me that they were basically, treating this like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. They're throwing rice, they were throwing toast, they were throwing tomatoes. None of it made any sense. They have no coherent rational alternative to what was found by the January 6th Select Committee, which they insisted on calling a partisan committee today when it was a bipartisan committee. And by the way, we originally had an agreement with the Republicans for an outside 9/11 style commission, not with members of Congress, but other people appointed outside with 5 Republican appointees, 5 Democratic appointees, equal funding, equal staff, equal subpoena power. And Donald Trump blew it up because he didn't want any investigation at all. And that's when Kevin McCarthy tried to put people who participated in the events of January 6th, like Chairman Jordan on the committee. And Pelosi said, we're not going to have that. We'll put other Republicans on it. And so that's what happened. And that's how that ended up being perhaps one of the greatest committees in the whole history of the U.S. Congress, which produced a report which they have not laid a glove on.
Donald Trump is a deranged madman, and he is also a criminal. And he's going to put on display his criminality and his derangement every single day. We need to chronicle it. We need to call it out. We cannot grow numb to it. And I can promise you we are going to do all of that on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments.